So many recent changes with the monsters where now you just aren't auto-picking the one on the right. The PvE choices are now much more based on loot and synergy, but XP is still a factor. This tier list has the monsters I take most often at the top, and the ones that I usually skip at the bottom. Starting with the ones that offer 3 XP and are beatable, Dabbling Apprentice. I'm sure this will change next week when the season ends. I expect Vial of Blood to be moved to gold and this guy's loot to change, to guarantee that no player is able to get to level 4 for the day 3 fight. Because the silver tier loot from Tiny Furry Monster, the 3 loot items from Jungle Ruins, and this are the only ways to get to level 4 on day 3, which is meta breaking because you get 2 extra board spaces and an extra 150 health. His other loot is pretty bad though, so if there's no extra XP, I'm not taking him next patch. Scoville. Scoville isn't that hard to beat. He's just a basic burn build that will stack up enough burn if you let the fight go on for too long. You can't rely on the sandstorm, and his overall loot is just okay even for burn builds. Day 5, however, you have to get that 1 extra XP, and be leveled to 6 for the day 5 fight, and try to be able to be level 10 for day 8. Infernal. Same burn archetype as Scoville, but on day 6 instead of day 5. The XP is just slightly not as valuable on day 6, as you really should have gotten 1 extra XP by now, and you're not going to see the benefits of the 1 extra XP for a few more days. The Infernal Greatsword sells for 50, and the Burning Rage skill is great for some builds. So his loot is better than Scoville, it just comes a day later. Dragon. On day 8, there are barely any good PvEs that show up in the left or the middle. The Dragon is not that easy to beat with 3700 health. It does take a while for his burn to stack up though, and you should have a good build on day 8. His loot is fantastic. I would go for him even if I'm not 100% certain I can beat him. Death Knight Reaper. Not easy to beat at all. The Scythe is guaranteed to crit, and that with the Desperate Cleanse basically heals him to full. So you need some scaling to win this fight. All of his loot is great, just don't have a bad build on day 9. Enclave Revenant. Very easy to beat and has the extra XP. The loot isn't great even if you're a poison build, but diamond portraits give extra XP and gold, so it's hard to pass up just for the chance of getting a nice skill from another monster. Veteran Octopus. 8,000 health is no gimme, but you'll have a long time, so just don't run out of ammo. I am really looking forward to the tiny enchant in the future. Awakened District. You have to deal damage before the soul of the district goes off. Slow and freeze work very well, but he's not the easiest to beat on day 10. Lord Arkan. Again, tough on day 10, but on days 11 and 12, you kind of have the max health to survive his flurry that he does at half health. Void Colossus. The eye goes off in around 8 seconds to destroy one of your items, so you just gotta beat him by then, or at least start your build quickly enough that you don't have to rely on your whole board anymore. Property Baron. The keychain hitting Skyscraper can be problematic, but these battles are only really tough when you have 4,000 health. On days 12 and 13, when you have like 6,000 health, they're not so bad. And I'm always trying to go to them for their superior loot and XP. Everyone knows these guys have great loot, it's just deciding if you can beat them or not. But there are some monsters with elite loot, like Thug. Bonk might be the best skill in the game. This skill is so absurd that the XP might not even matter when you're deciding, because just the chance of getting it is worth going to Thug. The other loot is alright, but since both the day 7 elite monsters are kinda hard to beat, I don't mind settling for Thug when I don't know if I can beat them. Sabertooth. Shiny Fang is stupid good. And if you can't make use of it, then getting a shiny diamond item on day 5 is a pretty good transformation target for Mandala. The skill is also elite, but it only really comes into play late game. The pelts aren't great, but the only thing preventing him from being above Thug is the day 5 options are some of the best. Eccentric Etherite. This is the one monster I would consider taking over Dabbling Apprentice. The rig skill is so good for any build. Force Field is also a good item on Pig and Vanessa because you can make use of the shield in ways that Dooley can't. I haven't been choosing this over Dabbling Apprentice, but I can see the upside. And she's easy enough to beat even with a poison build. Cosmic Rock. So now we have the first of the monsters that show up on 2 separate days. This one on days 7 and 8. The skills are fine, but what you're really there for is the Feather. It is so strong late game. Feathers get better later on because the cooldown reduction matters more and you know you're going to keep your items. Dire Mosquito. The skill is cool, but really the cooldown reduction is key. Kyver Commander. Getting a B that sells for 0 is very annoying. Giant mosquito. It kind of sucks that you're just taking these insects over other monsters specifically for the cooldown reduction. It doesn't feel like much of a decision when my other day 2 options offer the exact same amount of XP, and I feel like it was actually a tough decision back when you were weighing something against the feathers and insect wings. Gorgon Noble, Petrifying Gaze, Clockwork Blades, and Vial of Blood I'm all happy to get. The other loot is pretty good if you're poison, and all the monsters in this tier are easy to beat, but Gorgon Noble will counter you if you're relying on shield. But nowhere near as tough as our next tier, because those are 3 XP and hard to beat. These monsters I routinely lose to and then beat my PvP opponent, where usually the PvP opponents are much tougher than the PvEs. Flame Juggler on day 4. It sucks right now that the meta is get Mountain Pass, Study, or this guy on day 4, or lose. We should all be taking shield items and putting them in the stash in case this guy shows up so you can put him in your build, because it's too many times that I'm one short of leveling on day 4. He is very difficult to beat though, so you have to have a bunch of shielding, or heal, or regen, or a combo of all 3. But that 1 extra XP is so huge that this guy needs to be picked. Ghost Pepper. The burn isn't the problem, it's the regeneration. It makes it so difficult to kill him, and he puts out a decent amount of damage on his own. Most of my day 7 builds struggle, but as long as you aren't weak to burn, you should be able to have him. I think it should be clear to everyone that you need to be putting shield items that you might not play just to beat these burn PvEs. Void Golem. They just nerfed him, so it's possible that he can be beaten. It's still really hard though if you don't kill him in the first 7 seconds, and you might have to rely on RNG for if his Caltrops gets destroyed or not. The loot low-key sucks as well, but it's an extra XP, and when he shows up on days 12 and 13, he's not that bad. He's more beatable than 10 and 11. Frost Street Champion. You cannot win with a spammy build because of the iceberg. You need large numbers and a good amount of health, but days 10 and 11 are really the only challenge with a non-spammy build. Radiant Corsair. Since he comes back to life, it's more like 6,400 health, and he deals damage and burn, and slows. So very difficult to beat without in-fight scaling. Shield, and a lot of damage. But if Bonk isn't the best skill in the game, it's this one. But the rewards are high enough where I keep trying to beat him and losing to the Radiant Corsair. Lich. Everyone likes to think this guy's unbeatable, but he is weak to burn and larger weapons. You just need to get him to halfway health before his regeneration and the poison on you is at 100. He is by no means easy to beat, but he has some of the best loot in the game. And with either weapons or burn, I usually think I'm close to beating him. If you aren't seasoned at this game, you should probably just skip him, because I usually have to design my board specifically just for that fight to counter his items. These next monsters have an unbelievable skill that with the right synergy, I will take over the tiers above. But not if I need the extra XP to level for the PvP fight. Dr. Vortex. Neophiliac is very unfun to play against, because it makes the start of fight happen instantly, it has RNG, it's just so strong. And the other day 8 monsters are not great. Bloodreef Captain. He is one of the biggest benefactors from the change in XP, because it is now viable to just not choose the right side and have to choose the guy on the left when he has a really good skill. Every build could use cooldown reduction, it's just kind of hard to find a vehicle. Elite Duelist. Big Ego is overpowered. But you need a weapon build, so a lot of the time, it just won't fit your build, and you'll skip Elite Duelist. Trash Titan. Juggler is crazy when you can take advantage of it. I'll choose it over the 1 XP late game, just because the skill will make that much of a difference on day 13. Wandering Shoal. Cool, slow skill, and eels are good. The day 8 non-elite monsters don't really offer much though. So if Cosmic Rock isn't there, I'm probably taking Wandering Shoal even if my board doesn't synergize. Vulcus Enforcer. Pretty difficult to beat on day 10, and the loot isn't great, but if you have any type of shield, the skill is so strong. Trash Titan is really the only other day 10 monster that you kind of have to choose this guy over, so Vulcus Enforcer kind of gets picked even when you can't utilize the skill. Pharaoh's Khan. Not easy to beat, and doesn't offer the extra XP. But this is a 1 weapon build's dream skill. It's fringe for your build to be able to utilize it, but it's so strong. Trash Town Mayor. He has 2 good skills, even though the weapon one is far better. Day 5 has great monster choices though, so I wouldn't go to this guy just to try and get the skill if I didn't have the weapon build trying to pivot later. I kinda already have to have the weapons. Good loot. Coconut Crab. The skill is great on every build. Gold Coconut is perfect for Mandala on day 2. The other day 2 options are just terrible, so I'm usually choosing the left with the mosquito or this one. Treasure Turtle. The shielding for 30% max health is really good. Clamora is great late game, and the bar of gold and bags of jewels sell for a lot of gold. So overall good loot, but doesn't synergize well. Weapons platform. Uzi, first aidin, and coolant are viable items. Battery and the large skill can be great on the right build. Banana bowl. Day 1, the monsters aren't very competitive. The overheal skill is so good I have Banana Bull number 1 for day 1. Blue nanas and duct tape are fine, but getting the skill on day 1 means you can find the heal item later. Viper. Toxic Fang and Lash Out are excellent, and Gland and Fang are alright. Viper would be higher than Banana Bull if you could always beat him, but this is the only day 1 monster you can lose to. It's not hard to beat him, it's just so early you might not have any items yet. Outlands Dervish. The day 4 monsters aren't great, and 2% cooldown reduction on your items is kind of better than any of the other options. He's easy to beat and the loot is fine. It's really just the other day 4 choices don't offer much. These ones I kind of choose regardless of build, so they get picked more often. But they're not as good as the ones below, they just need synergy, like Infernal Envoy. Some of the best loot in the game and perfect for a Calcinator Mac build. The only thing holding him back is how good the other day 5 monsters are. You can see he's 5th ranked from day 5. And since he's in the middle spot, he's competing against Gorgon Noble, Sabertooth, Trashtown Mare, and Scoville. So unless he synergizes with your build, you're going to be choosing one of those other choices. Tempest Flame Dancer. Getting a fiery enchanted cutlass on day 3 can be just for your build. It's good on a 1-weapon build until you find eels, it's good with Dooley, it's good with some of Dooley's cores, it's a medium item for Crook on Pig. If Etherite isn't the elite monster, I'm fine settling for this guy. Having 2 fiery cutlasses makes him consistent with the loot. Prince Marianus. The day 4 monsters are just terrible, and you know you wouldn't have gotten lucky seeing Flame Juggler for the extra XP if this guy shows up. So just based on his loot, it's an eel meta right now. His skills are decent, and he has 2 diamond items you can transform. Pyro. I need a burn item, or a burn skill, or something burn synergy related. And then I'll choose Pyro over Viper and Banana Bowl. Fanged Inlet. Fang has a 3-second cooldown, and you can consistently get it, so on the right build, it's a good start of fight item. But day 1, it's hard to plan around it. Boiler Room Brawler. Stell's items have been terrible for way too long. But since the skill is pretty good and Haste Potion is there, he gets chosen because the other day 4 monsters just aren't good. Dire Inglet. Obsidian Fang is really strong. And even just the Obsidian enchant is good for Mandala. Chili Charles. He's one of the few freeze-specific PvEs, so he is excellent for freeze builds. Even Icy Hammock, though, is a good transformation target. Lord of the Wastes. Pendulum is excellent, with the right synergy. He has some stuff that sells for a lot, and he's pretty easy to beat. The skill, though, I wouldn't put on my run if I get it. Since the left showing monsters on day 10 kinda suck, you might get stuck with this guy, when you can't beat the one on the right. Car Conductor. Vehicles aren't common, but if you have one, then these items synergize really well. It's just rare you're able to take advantage of the vehicle synergy. Burninator Bot. Flamethrower is an interesting way of getting your weapon build into the late game. The skill is good if you can take advantage of it. Pylon and Thermal Lance you could maybe make work. Good with synergy. Oasis Guardian. He shows as the elite monster on day 8 and just the silver in the middle on day 9. I kinda hope that one day in the future, there'll be enough monsters that none need to repeat. If you have a slow build, Femur can get you to 10 wins. The poison stuff kinda comes too late, so only really half his loot is good. Zookeeper. Crook and the skill work with the right synergy. Extra poison and burn is fine, and he's easy to beat. Gold pelt for 8 gold isn't bad. Harkuvian Rocket Trooper, good for ammo builds. Extra crit or haste is good for most builds. The big thing holding Harkuvian Rocket Trooper back is the day 5 monsters are all pretty good, so I'm only going when I have synergy. This is one of the few places to get Shadow Cloak though, one of the best neutral items. Just like Covetous Thief. If you want the cloak, or you have a 1-weapon build, he's alright. Or if you're Northern Lion, he's the best monster in the game. Bloodreef Raider. Again, a 1-weapon Vanessa build's dream monster, but not so great if you can't utilize the ammo synergy. Roaming Isle. Not to be confused with Wandering Shoal, this skill is significantly worse. It's hard to have both healing and shield when you're not on Pig, and it's only alright even if you get it. Tropical Island is a nice amount of health though, and Clamor is perfect for days 9+. Kyver Drone. Long John is interesting on day 1, but the Insect Wing and the Eagle Talisman come just a bit too early because I'm not sure I'm going to be keeping my items. So they usually end up getting kept in my stash for a couple of days. Stinger is bad, and the skill is kind of hard to make work. So on day 1, I'm trying to go for something that's good right now, or something that is good late game. Not something that's just going to be meh in a couple days. With a good enchanted item start though, when you know you're going to be keeping that item, Kyver Drone can be really good. Haunted Kimono. 3 shield isn't enough even if you have a shield item. Silk Scarf is pretty good on day 1 though. It counters the eel build very well. I'm only really going to this on Pig though, so I can take advantage of the small item synergy and easily upgrade the Silk Scarf. Mod Squad. Good with Dooley's friend build, but unless you have friends, he's not great. Lone Shark. Not really that hard to beat, but all of his items you kind of get at the peak of their usability. Shark Claws, Income, and Shark Ray kind of start to fall off after day 7. So the items are kind of just one-day fill-ins even if they synergize with your build. He does fit weapon builds nicely trying to transition to the late game. Enclave Weeper. So much worse than Enclave Revenant because the +1 XP is only on the loot. It's by far its best loot item. But day 6 is right when you've gotten that extra level in. So I only think you can really be going with some sort of poison synergy. One really good loot item isn't enough to make me go unless the other 2 choices are bad. Frost Street Challenger. If on day 3 you somehow have a freeze build, then it's cool. But weights and hand axe aren't really good enough to warrant going to on its own. Viper Tyrant. Just too late for Toxic Fang to be great. If you have a poison build, Viper Tyrant's okay. The skill is pretty good though if you poison a lot. Master Alchemist. Terrible loot for day 10 except for Mortar and Pestle. If you have a huge weapon, getting lifesteal not on Mac is a challenge. So late game maybe on Pig or Dooley it could be worth it. And the other loot isn't that bad on Mac, so on all heroes he's takeable. You just kind of have to have a use for the Mortar and Pestle. Boss Harrow. He's for weapon builds, but it's really only the skill that I'm excited about. He's just so bad if you don't have a lot of weapons. Preening Duelist. Great with ammo builds, but day 5 is too competitive. Even with an ammo build, I don't want to skip Trash Town Mare, Gorgon Noble, or Scoville. Street Gamer. The skill is pretty good for all builds, but I wouldn't go just for the skill. The Yo-Yo is perfect for Dooley and Mac weapon builds. So that's where I'd go, but getting a Piggle that sells for 0 really sucks. Infernal Frigate. Trebuchet and Incendiary rounds can synergize. The start of fight burn skill could be worth it in the late game, but the main reason I'd go is if I had the vehicle cooldown reduction skill so I could go for thrusters. A small vehicle is just so hard to replicate, and cooldown reduction is good late game. Joyful Jack. If you can take advantage of the skill, he's worth going to, but he shows up on 2 separate days. So unless I have some poison or weapon spam, his items aren't good. Bouncertron. Cybersecurity can be good, and his skill isn't the worst, but he's kinda only good for weapon builds. Hoverbike Hooligan. Uzi is a great item, and this guy's alright if you have other ammo items, but he's kinda tough to beat for day 3. So you gotta be able to beat him, and a lot of his loot really isn't great. This tier is full of monsters that don't have great loot, but they're at least easy to beat. Trash Golem. I think Plasma Grenade is one of the most underrated items. Powder Keg is fine for burn builds, but it's really hard to get the crit up when you aren't Vanessa. Rogue Scrapper on day 3. Loot isn't great, the skill is fine. Not really worth going to unless you can't beat the other monsters, which might happen on day 3. Hulking Experiment. Not even good with ammo builds, but just on day 10 you might need to go. Foreman. Maybe Crane is worthwhile, but all the other loot is not very good. Sergeant Suds. The Rivet Gun is really the only usable item. Stell's loot is all so bad, and it should get buffed soon. Yrden. Funny how the guy who made this game has one of the worst monsters. Day 9 is too late for any of these things to matter, and the Piggles sell for 0. Maybe Nargile fits some builds, but I've never gotten it. And what is up with this Goggles item? It's on 5 different monsters, and it is one of the worst in the game. Now these monsters don't have great loot, and they can sometimes beat you. Warrior. The loot isn't the worst if you have a weapon build, but he's probably not worth doing the calculation for the 2 extra gold. And day 2 is too competitive because you know you're going to get either Mosquito or Coconut Crab on the left. Hellbilly. Don't underestimate the Hellbilly. He will beat you with his in-fight scaling on day 4. You need to have a real board, and the loot isn't really worth going to. The 1 or 2 extra gold that the monster on the right gives me isn't really factoring into my decision. Rogue Scrapper on day 2 is so much worse because he's way harder to beat. You have to actually have items that do stuff, and he's never going to be good enough to take over Giant Mosquito or Coconut Crab. So I'm almost always going to the left on day 2, even if it's less gold. Retiree. Again, do not underestimate him. He will win if you do not deal any damage. The loot isn't great, but I suppose a diamond item is a good transformation target. Shock Trooper. His loot is fine, but for not offering extra XP, this guy is way too hard to beat. The plasma rifle goes off a lot, and it can crit, so you're never 100% sure you're going to beat him. So I still might be scared of losing with a really good board due to RNG. Overall, I do pick the PvEs at the bottom of this tier list, when I have the right items that synergize, and things just line up correctly with the choices. Let me know if I'm missing anything with some of these fights, and if I'm either over or underestimating some monsters. I think in the future I might do a tier list for each day so it's more clear. I'm sure this will change with the new season next week, so subscribe for more.